Hey, have you seen the new season of that Brooklyn Nine-Nine?
Yeah, yeah.
It's so good, man. I just started today. Like I watched two episodes, and it's so good to see the show back.
Not a true fan, say, watching it all in the end.
Don't tell me you're gonna put this again at the end. Okay, don't, please don't. I'm so not ready to.
Welcome everyone to another episode of Nerdistan, a podcast where we celebrate big beer and being nerds. I'm your host, like always, Manoj Matthew, and joining me today is my very good friend who is really excited to talk today as we take a walk through memory lane through the DC universe. Is my very good friend Jay Nair.
Dude, like I am so happy that after all these years, I finally found a reason to rewatch Man of Steel. Like I think it's been literally like since the release, after like watching it in the theaters, I don't think I ever watched this movie. For some reason, I just like there are some movies which you like, but you don't want to rewatch because like it takes away the magic of the first viewing. But man, do I love the series
Like
even more, like the thing even more after all these years. Yeah,
I had like worked up a very cool like intro where I was like, Jay, let us travel back in time
oh
to a
shit.
time where these
Oh no.
and you just spoke about massive right away.
I just, oh my God.
Guys, the professional podcast. Look at the coordination
Professional
between
podcast.
the hosts. But anyway, but just like reeling back a little bit, today's episode we'll be talking about Man of Steel and Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice, the Ultimate Edition. Because that's the only edition that exists. We don't know about any other edition, any other what theatrical. We don't know that.
Yeah.
It came straight to Blu-rays. That's why the DC universe it crumbled. Poor decision making. But because Zack Snyder's Justice League will be coming out next week. We are recording this a little bit early, but because Zack Snyder's Justice League will be coming out next week, we thought we'll do a warm-up podcast about like the movies that released in the DC universe, especially under Zack Snyder's leadership, we could say. Now, mainly there's Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, and Wonder Woman. That's the three movies, but we'll be speaking more about Man of Steel and BVS, the Ultimate Edition, in
Yeah.
today's episode. So we're very grateful for everyone who's joined in for today's episode. So that'll be today's episode as a whole. There'll be nothing else because we're actually recording this very early. So we can't do things trending this week because we don't know what's going to happen this week.
Yeah.
We're recording this
And
early
today's
because of
episode is sponsored by Luther Cop.
no, it's not.
No, it is. Arey, while rewatching Man of Steel, I realized one thing that by the like, especially in the climax, no, the final act, there was like this Lex Luthor Corporation. There were some
Yeah,
buildings
there's a
marked with
truck.
Lex.
There was a
Yeah,
truck,
yeah,
right? Yeah.
yeah. The truck.
There's
Like,
Lex is there. Like his presence is there throughout Man of Steel. Like even in uh there's this bus. Like when there's a scene where Clark goes back to his house and like after like visiting after visiting the Kryptonian ship, the Fortress of Solitude and stuff like that, he comes back and he actually gets off a Lex Luthor bus. Like in the bus, it's written like Lex, something like that. So the presence is there like throughout. But anyway, I guess we'll jump right into Man of Steel. Now, this movie came out, I think, 7, 8 years back. So we are not going to be
yeah,
doing non-spoiler talk. It'll be all spoilers from here. But Jay, let
yeah.
me know what are your thoughts of Man of Steel?
Dude, like this movie, I think like I want to say this right away. Like it's not a perfect film, but
Hmm,
what is a perfect film?
true.
Like I there are definitely so many movies which
A
are
perfect film,
good.
like the short films I used to make when I was a student, those are all perfect films.
Nice cue,
I'm
nice
kidding.
cue. Okay,
I'm kidding.
professional
I'm kidding. Those are
podcast,
like
professional podcast.
completely flawed films. But anyway, go ahead. Go ahead.
So like I have seen like better cinemas than this, definitely.
Hmm,
But like the the main problem which I had those like well-made piece of art and cinema is like I don't really take many of the things with me in my like
hmm.
life, but with Man of Steel, man, there is so much heart in this movie,
Yeah,
and
which is ironic because most people call this the heartless interpretation of Superman.
yeah, and I think that's pretty crazy to think because like
Hmm,
the first thing which comes in your head while you talk about Superman is like, oh my God, how invincible he is, how strong he is, like how fast he is. But dude, like the f- the thing which makes him Superman is not his power and ability to do things. It's like his resolve to make this world, like how they show him in this dilemma of choosing like his own blood, like Krypton, or the new home he is living in, and the choice he make, and the non-linear way of storytelling makes things interesting. It like doesn't flow like he's like we are getting to know his past while the things in present is happening, so it's really backing up the things in the past, is the choices he's making. And bro, the initial like after the whole Krypton invasion thing, and that explode, the core exploded, and that, and when he started discovering himself, the whole montage of him like traveling through places to know like what he wants to do. Like I know his dad wants to do one thing, but like, and it's so beautifully shot. Like I have to like,
It's a beautiful
there's
movie.
one, yeah,
It's a
it's
absolutely beautiful movie. Like throughout.
dude. And one thing you can't take away from Zack Snyder is the beautiful images he produced in his movie.
Hmm.
Like, and there are some iconic images, like which you know which you even remember after 10-15 years now, you will
Yeah,
find it,
yeah, yeah.
dude, that's like
It's like
goosebumps, that
it really like sinks into your memory, like some of
yeah,
the
dude.
shots and like
And those are very powerful images. Like I literally, since the first time I watched Man of Steel until now, I never really uh think I
went
erased
back to it. Yeah,
those. Yeah, went back to it. And the fact that I still remember the first flight he took,
yeah, yeah,
like,
yeah. The
dude,
music in that is so good. Like
Hans Zimmer, God,
Hans
Hans Zimmer,
Zimmer
man,
is
he's like,
epic. Like
and
and especially and
that,
with Joral's voiceover also like in the middle, like
yeah,
it's just great.
yeah,
It's an
yeah, yeah,
awesome moment.
exactly.
It's
Dude,
an
like,
incredible moment.
it's true, true. And
Like in
with
that, I just want to
Batman,
say, like, since we talk about that, each and every shot,
yeah,
like the shot of like his hand, like going in, like just
yeah,
like placing in the ground, and then you see the
true.
gravity around it, like like forming around it, like all the particles, and then he just sets off, and you get that incredible shot of him just flying through, like around the world. It's just beautiful. Like it's just basically Zack Snyder in his best elements. Yeah, like
True,
beautiful.
man. Like, and that thing only amplified with the Batman versus Superman movie. The score, like the producing of more powerful images. Like, dude, we will get back to Batman versus
Yeah,
Superman,
we
but
will get to
yeah,
we'll
but
like let's talk about the things that we really liked about Man of Steel, and then we'll then talk about
go,
things that
yeah,
we didn't really like about it. But like
yeah,
obviously now this film took a lot of like inspiration from Batman Begins because it also had David S. Goyer, and if you look at the storytelling, like whether it's the non-linear storytelling throughout the first half or the
yeah,
choosing of the villain like General Zod, who has a very important part to play in the origin of the whole thing. And similar to how,
true,
like in different ways. Now, Ra's al Ghul also in
yeah,
Batman Begins, they sort of made him play a very central part in Batman's origin. And
mm,
in Zod, it's in a different way. It's not a direct relation to Superman, but still, like from
yeah,
in as the direct relationship to Krypton. So even the choosing of the villain and even
mm,
the end, the world engine, and that you have the fear
yeah,
device thing going, like that thing,
true,
the whole thing there. So there are many similarities, but for me, like the starting of the movie, Man of Steel, like just seeing Clark like travel around the world, and he's just like traveling aimlessly. He's just like going around helping everyone randomly and just
true,
trying to find his true purpose. Like for me, I love that so much because that resonated with me so much. Because like when you're in your early 20s, you get that feeling you don't really know what's
true,
going
true.
on, so you're just like going aimlessly, just trying to understand life in some ways and trying to do the right things throughout. And in this, and Clark, it's Clark is not portrayed as this very like pure person. He is human. He has flaws. Like you see him like stealing clothes from here, and then even
Yeah,
like getting into this bar fight. Like he doesn't get into the bar fight.
true,
I love that
true.
scene where like during the
Yeah,
bar fight, the guy like he
tries to hit
misbehaves
him.
with a
Yeah,
girl, and then he just stands there, and then he tries to push him, and he doesn't move an inch, and the way he just
yeah.
stares at him like shit.
That was there. That
But
was
then you
very.
see how he like dismantles his entire truck, and see, I
Yeah,
think that
that
is
was
like in
scary.
those
Yeah.
few scenes you kind of understand that Zack and David S. Goyer, because I think David S. Goyer had a very central role to play in bringing Superman here. they wanted to portray Superman as human as possible. Like they wanted to portray him as a
True,
flawed
true.
character, and that was like there throughout. That attempt was there throughout because I think one problem which they faced in the Christopher Reeve Superman, and even when
Mhm.
they did Superman Returns with Brandon Routh, like it felt like Superman was such a perfect character, like
Huh.
a, such a that
Yeah,
people
yeah,
could not relate to him. I guess there was
exactly.
that feeling. So in this sort of reinterpretation of Superman, they sort of try to like show him as human as well. Because
Mhm.
in a way it makes sense because he's just a kid who grew up in Kansas. Like he is
True.
as like there's even a line where he says, I grew up in Kansas, Jim. Like
Yeah.
I'm as American as it gets, but he is just that kind of like very small town person, and he just he
True.
grew up in a
Yeah.
farm basically. So I really like the depiction of the flaws, and it's like the first for me, the first half an hour, like just as origin, like with the known linear storytelling, I really loved that. Like,
Yeah, yeah. So, man, like, and like, I just want to like talk one thing about one aspect of the ending. I'm not going to dwell into that, but
hmm,
dude, when that montage of him being a kid and playing with his dog with the red cape
yeah,
on his
that's a
back,
great moment. That's such a good
that's
moment.
that's
That's like
that's
etched
as
in my memory. Like like
yeah, it's
even now.
dude, like I like people have no idea. Like I know there are many people criticizing this movie even like without even knowing anything about the super comic book world. In my childhood, like I have done
Everyone
that
has done
so
that.
many times.
Everyone
My
has done that. Like I have
my
literally have pictures of me like in a Batman costume, which I'm not going to show here,
okay.
obviously. But I'm
Oh
not going to
man,
show
that
here. But
sucks.
I have like pictures with me in a Batman costume just running around. I still like my mom, dad used to still talk about that, like how I used to like run around with a cape in my back and just like
Uh,
jump in the sofas and just act like the cape was like flying around me and stuff like that. Like that's like every kid's like this thing. And that's why
true, true.
it really surprises me when people say this film doesn't have heart because I think
Yeah,
this
it's
film is
crazy.
filled with a lot
Yeah.
of heart, like all throughout. And I just want to say like one thing, like
Mhm.
here we're going to speak about things that we really like. I think
Yeah.
one thing we can't like skip over. One thing is the Krypton sequence. Like I know you touched a little upon it, but dude,
Mhm.
that's an amazing sequence. And actually, David Goya like fought for it to be that long. He kept saying that we have to show this. This is very important to his like origin. So that's what they spent. I think like 15 minutes almost in Krypton,
Mhm.
and just like the whole aesthetic of Krypton, like the production design, or like the way they sort of like envision Krypton to be, it's just a beautiful like art almost. Like it's like if Zack
And
Snyder made Avatar, like that is
true,
what that
true,
is.
true, true. And like I want to now I want to talk about the themes of the movie, which I
Hmm,
don't think many people realizes the weight. Like I think he doesn't go much into the depth of those themes,
hmm,
but boy, like uh, as a kid, like as a guy from India, I connected some of the dots, which I think was pretty powerful. Which I realized just in the recent rewatch. It was like uh, they
the
abolished
bloodlines.
totally
Are
like
you referring to the bloodlines thing? Like
yeah,
society
yeah.
decides what a
The
child
dude,
should
the
grow up to
caste
be.
system
Yeah,
and the yeah, exactly. Like
true, true,
like
true.
there was like India has been a place which like not just India, like as a kid grew up in India, I've heard so many stories, and still till that, like it's 2021 and I still get to hear these type of things. Like there are people who treats other people of different castes and like different workplace, something like that, below them, like they are
Hmm,
much superior to those people, and it's so bad. And the way these guys portray, like I was just thinking that, oh my God, like, that's all. Like, even if it's not Earth, it's still the case for like
yeah.
superior beings
Like
like
the
aliens. Like,
concept of free will, the concept of a person like
true,
deciding his own
so
future.
true.
Like I feel like
Yeah,
maybe those themes might be lost upon like maybe people from other
yeah, yeah,
countries,
yeah, yeah,
maybe. But like like even like if you forget the caste system, also a lot
yeah,
for many people, like their families or their parents decide the future, decide the
yeah.
the which
Sadly,
where
yes.
direction a
True,
child, like
true, true, true.
a person sort of progresses in his life. So I
Yeah.
think the fact that they sort of explored that, and that was the main
Yeah.
contention. Like that was a main conflict between Jor-El and Zod, because like
True.
the then Zod, like Zod even like tells Jor like, let's rebuild Krypton together. So, and he even says
Yeah.
and he even asks like, who will decide the bloodlines? Like, will it be you who
Exactly.
decides the
You,
bloodlines?
yeah,
And
that's the
that is the conflict, because both of them in their heart wanted to save Krypton, and they wanted
yeah.
to like say, and they were not like the council which was depicted. Like they were not narrow-minded
Yeah.
like that. They wanted to look at other means of how Krypton could survive. They wanted to look to the stars. Like I love that. Russell Crowe, this is so good.
Dude.
Like it's he as Joel. Like one of my biggest critiques of
Huh.
Zack Snyder's DC. Not one of my biggest. Like I do have a
Hmm.
few like hindrances, not
Yeah,
hindrances,
yeah,
like a few like things that gripe me a little bit. But
yeah,
one thing is that the fact that Jor-El never returned after this. Like
yeah, yeah,
now in TVS he didn't return, and even in I know his memory thing got wiped out. Like there's a scene where
yeah.
they say like they erased his sort of thing
Erased it.
from
Yeah,
the
yeah.
ship. So I understand, but
Okay.
I just feel like it's such a lost opportunity, because he's such a
True.
cool, like the interpretation of Jor-El in the Zack Snyder universe is such a
Hmm.
cool character. Like he's such a badass on his own right,
Yeah.
and even like Russell Crowe, the way he depicts character is so good. So it's a pity to me that we didn't get to see a lot. Like we didn't get to see him throughout. Like I
Yeah.
don't know now if Zack Snyder's Justice League has anything to do
Hmm.
with Jorah. Like who knows? It could be a surprise. But I
Yeah.
just feel like
Could be.
it would have been so cool to see Jorah when Superman comes back. Like when he walks
Hmm.
to the ship, and then like just to see Jorah, that would have been so cool. But yeah, I mean, I understand like they didn't go with
Dude,
that. But
and
anyway.
the thing with the free will is it still bothers me. Like what is like we talk about free will and we talk about freedom all the time. Like, dude,
Hmm.
like freedom is literally a luxury which no one can like very few can afford to have. And
Yeah.
it has nothing to do with your financial achievements and like all that. It's just
Hmm.
the free will. It's like you're free to do anything in a free place, but that's just an ideal situation in your
Yeah.
head. Like there is no such place here. Like no matter
Hmm.
what you say or you think you are free, no, you are bound to live in a society with the rules they have given you in a certain way, and you have to make the best of it.
And they say
And
that
the
Superman represents that.
yeah,
He's the embodiment of that belief. And if you look at it, also like Superman, he doesn't. There are like many scenes where they're like the with the army where Superman is like, you don't control me, but that doesn't mean
true.
that I'm here to do wrong. So there's definitely
And
that sort of, especially when you rewatch it, you start to like see things like this. Like it's a little subtle. Like I know Zack Snyder is not known for his subtlety. Like
uh,
he's bold, dramatic. He just shows everything like that. But like
yeah.
there are like in the script, I feel like there are moments like this that on rewatches you kind of explore more.
And as we are talking about Krypton, like what is Krypton and like Krypton getting destroyed, and it's so funny that I remember one line from the MCU, the thing they talk about Ragnarok, like Ragnarok was never about the place, it's about the people.
Mhm.
And I wish like it could have like that line would have been used here in some kind of way. I don't know, like
But
it
it's
just
like
serves me right.
honestly, man,
Yeah,
Krypton the people
yeah.
always shit. Like the only like good
True,
people I
true,
think were
yeah.
from the House of Hell. Like looking at it, because
Yeah, yeah.
Zod was like Zod and his people were like complete like
True.
dictators. Then what the council were absolute shit people
Yeah, true,
who had no
true.
foresight. I feel like in a way the Council of Krypton it kind of represents the WB management. Like
Ah,
seeing how short-sighted they
true.
were and like about the future. But anyway, that's a discussion for a whole
Dude,
other
and
thing.
I just like I think for me the prominent reason for Clark Kent not turning into a bad Superman is the fact they're like parents and
Yeah.
the
The
adopted
upbringing, the upbringing, the
dude like
upbringing. Oh, shit. I forgot how to speak for a second. The upbringing of him, like
dude
I think,
Martha
and
yeah
Jonathan Kent. Yeah, no,
Jim
that's a
dude
very good point, because a lot of people don't like Jonathan Kent in this movie, because he's a very now one thing we have to say right off the bat, Superman is a character that's been there for like years. So I
true
think one of the downfalls for I say downfalls, but like with the
Hmm.
hope that the universe might still sustain given the situation now. Like we don't know what's going to
Hmm.
happen in the future, but
Yeah
one of the main reasons I think why a lot of negative reception was gotten by DCU in the initial
Hmm.
days was the fact that there are preconceived notions of how this character should be,
Uh, yeah.
how Superman should be, how Martha Kent should be, how Jonathan Kent should be. And
Hmm.
in this film, they try to do something different. They try to depict Jonathan Kent as a very realistic person in a way.
Hmm.
Like
Hmm. Hmm.
he's not, and he doesn't have all the answers. He's not sure. Like
Yeah.
that scene where Superman said, like the Clark, he saves the people in the bus. I love that
Yeah.
scene so much when he saves the people in the bus, and then there's a scene between Jonathan and Clark when Jonathan, he doesn't know what to do. He doesn't. He's like, maybe you shouldn't have like saved them, like because
Yeah.
maybe like if you had like, now we already have questions arising on you, on your powers, on your this thing. And see, as I
True.
said again, like this film tries to wipe the entire slate clean and start from the starting. But the problem is that people already have notions. Like, oh no,
Yeah.
you could have done that. Like, for example, like a scene that gets criticized a lot is the scene where
Hmm.
Parkin dies. Okay. Now,
Hmm.
in the tornado. Now, I'm not a fan of the scene because
Hmm.
for me, that scene, the way the scene is executed for me doesn't work because
Uh,
it feels like too many things happen. It feels a little bit forced, is what I'm trying to say. But
okay.
the idea of the scene I really like. I like the
Hmm.
idea of the scene that Park Ken doesn't think that the world is ready for him to like display such kind of powers. So and he knows that Clark could probably say it, but he feels like no, that would have like major ramifications like in the world. So that's why he
Hmm.
chooses for Clark to hide his identity. Now, now people already keep saying that he could have super speeded them. People would have seen, but that's the thing. Clark is very young there. He doesn't know the extent of his powers yet. And
Yeah. He
see,
never
but that's
tested
the
it out even.
problem because the film is trying to
Hmm.
wipe the entire slate clean. But people
Huh.
already have preconceived notions. They're like, no,
Preconceived
wait,
notion.
Superman could
Yeah.
fly and
Yeah.
he could
He's
just run
yeah.
there, get it there. So, and that's again, like, I'm not blaming the audiences. That's
Hmm.
the fault of the filmmakers also. Because when you tackle a catalyst Superman, you're going to have this baggage that comes with it.
Hmm.
And like the fact that they also opted for the non-linear storytelling, it kind of created that impression in the audience that they didn't know in what power level Superman was. Like has he like okay,
Dude,
has he like
and
discovered like, and like is he
hmm.
like used to his powers? So that's why like you
Yeah.
had so many questions coming up, like why did he do that, why did he do that? And I think that is like
Yeah.
a lot of the problems people have with Man of Steel is from that. Yeah, go
Yeah. See, I just wanted to say one thing about that
on.
scene, like, is that like those, like, as you talk about some people having a problem with that scene because like Clark could have, yeah, he could have, but see, see that if whenever you rewatch that scene, take that scene as a type of like, at one point of time, what that scene teaches me is the fact that no matter how powerful or how invincible you are, you can't save everyone.
True, true.
There will be times when
Yeah,
you
but
just you yeah, I think,
I'm
yeah,
no,
I'm
I'm
coming
glad
to
you
it. Yeah.
brought that up. So because
Uh-huh.
in the 1978 Superman movie, or usually in the Superman canon,
Uh-huh. Hmm.
not you like it's I'm not sure in all canon. Like, in some of the comic book runs, I think both of them are still
Uh,
alive, which I don't
yeah.
mind actually. Because of like
Yeah.
all superheroes, their parents all die, so I'm okay with
Yeah, true.
having
For a
both their
change,
parents
for
alive for a
once.
change. But
Yeah.
in the usually what happens is that Jonathan Kent dies of a heart attack.
Oh,
Now
okay.
this like what you said exactly, that
Hmm.
Superman he can't save everyone. So this was
Yeah.
supposed to be a teachable moment for him, that he can't
Yeah.
save, like there are going to be there are going to be events that happen where he can't do anything, like he can't
Yeah.
save like Jonathan if someone dies of a heart attack. So
Yeah.
that is there, but I think this movie is not trying to show that. It's trying to show
Yeah.
that what
I
will the
yeah.
world react like. How shouldn't like the secret be protected? Isn't that secret
True.
worth protecting
Yeah.
for? Isn't that more important than this? I think that's what the movie was going for, Man of Steel
Hmm.
especially. So
Yeah.
they're like
Yeah.
different clash of ideas, like
Yeah. I know, like, I'm giving a kind of a free hand to him, like, in this scene, because like because overall I
yeah,
really love that movie, and
yeah.
one or two scene, like, it's yeah, okay, it's okay, man, like, you can
True,
fuck it
true,
up,
true.
I
Like
don't
for
feel.
me, like it's just a few scenes like this that I actually have a
Yeah.
problem. Overall, I
Mhm.
absolutely love this film. Like I'll
Yeah.
still like watch bits of the film like whenever I get free time. Like sometimes I just think I just want to watch this flight scene again, or I just want to watch this scene
Uh,
again. Like we spoke about one negative point. I just want to get back to the
hmm.
positives. I want like check out all the positives before we go to the negatives. The
True.
action scenes are phenomenal. Like
Bro,
absolutely phenomenal. Like that Smallville fight. throughout the Smallville fight, you're like, damn, this is epic, man. You have never seen Superman depicted in such a way, and I feel like
True.
even after that, that Smallville fight is so well done, like, even more than the General Zod fight, which I have problems with that. But the Smallville fight, like you even see Superman trying to fly away and them like dragging his cape and then pushing him down. And you're like, dude, it's so well
And
done.
that's typical Zack Snyder. Like
Yeah.
right there, that's Zack Snyder at like what he does his best. Like that's like I don't think anyone could have shown Superman fighting like that,
Super
because like
ham.
Super Ham, dude, that would be so cool if there's a movie called Super Ham. A
I think there's a
hamster turned
character I think
super.
called Super Ham. I'm not sure.
Maybe it could be.
But
Yeah.
other thing which I want to speak about is the performances. I think Michael
Uh,
Shannon as Zod, absolutely great. Uh, Henry Cavill, as always, Superman. Even though I feel like he didn't get to really like sort of be that Superman. Like, because if you look at it, like there were scenes where I really like he's like, don't play games with me, general. Like scenes like that which I really dug, and you could
Dude,
really
that
feel,
scene when they put him on like handcuffs
yeah,
and like
handcuffs, yeah,
do you let them put on handcuff? I mean,
yeah,
it makes them safe, feel safe.
yeah.
Listen, Jordan, and he just put and bam, dude, like and
And actually, he was
yeah,
speaking to Martian Manhunter now. Now we know
ah,
he was actually speaking to
yeah,
Martian Manhunter in that, that sort of interrogation room.
dude,
But
yeah,
like for me,
yeah.
that's enticing is where Henry Cavill got to be Superman. Like just that calm presence that like he's like even that scene when he's like speaks to Lois and he's like, it's not an S in my world, it means so, and the way he speaks. But
Okay, but
after that, he didn't really get to be that because I thought in his interactions with Zod, like I
hmm,
think that's again where like when you when you handle a character like Superman, audiences they envision a certain way how Superman should speak. Like that was even this happened even like we were like reacting to Superman and Lois. Even in that, there was a scene where Superman like that Superman like he says like then find them for me, and he says it in a bit like angry way, and like immediately you're like that's not Superman. Like
yeah,
it's just a reaction you have. Like it's like you can't see
hmm,
Superman. So even in this like movie when he says to Zod like how does it feel? Like there's a scene where he like attacks Zod and he puts him on the ground and Zod like he has to like adjust to the climate, the world
yeah,
atmosphere, and he says it's like now you know what it feels like, and it's like very like that kind of line. You're like, will Superman actually say something like that?
yeah.
Because it's
That
not
felt like kind of a forced for to me.
true.
Like yeah,
Like you
they
would feel
wrote
like
it.
maybe he would say in a bit more calmer way or maybe different way. But see, that's
Uh,
even not the filmmaker's fault. It's a preconceived notion that you have in your head. You're like,
uh,
Superman won't speak like that. Like I think a
uh,
lot of the like I said before, a lot of the problems people have with Man of Steel is of preconceived notions. Of like they're like, oh, my Superman wouldn't do
and
that.
in a way, like there are two parts of me that kind of agrees and one part doesn't agree. As I said, like yeah, it feels like a kind of force, but the part who agrees says that, bro, like this is his first fight, and
Yeah,
like this is the first fight, and this is the first time he is going like
against
full-fledged
such
power,
a
like
super army,
against
like,
such a powerful character,
and he
and
learned to
we
fly just
knew.
what a week back or something like
Yeah,
in the
and
movies.
we know like it has been in the teenager portion when he was kind of getting bullied by others. He wanted to hit him. Like
But he was controlled. Yeah, yeah,
there was a side in him that wants to like kill those people.
yeah.
But and with every fight you learn and you become more
True,
mature and
true,
mature.
true.
And as this is his first time, I think I don't
That's
like
the
I know
thing.
I'm kind of
Like,
yeah,
no, that's the thing. Like as I said before, like they
yeah,
try to portray Superman as very flawed, like a human, not an alien,
yeah.
like a very
And
human character. And but
this is
that
the
doesn't go
origin
down
story
with
after all.
everyone.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
yeah.
that doesn't go down well with everyone. Like for example, like there's a scene where Zod threatens Martha. And then you have this epic scene where Superman just comes in and he's like, you dare threaten my mother.
Don't touch. Yeah. Dude,
That was
Papa.
great. That was great. And he like punches Zod. But the
Yeah.
moment he like crashes to a petrol station and the petrol station
Yeah.
explodes, you're like, dude,
Yeah.
everyone died there. And that's the problem. Like, obviously, they're trying to portray him as a flawed being, but in your mind, immediately it just goes off that dude. People over there died. So if, as I said again, they could have done a small thing that changed it. Like if
Hmm.
they shoot Zod, like Superman keeps punching him, but if they shoot Zod, just defend a punch, and maybe like he
Huh.
punch one back, and then Superman is going out of control, and then
Huh.
because of that, they crash in the petrol station, and then it
Huh.
explodes. it makes a world of change. Like,
Yeah,
because
true.
throughout the movie, you're depicting Superman as this very restrained person. Like,
Yeah,
even in the when the bullies are like, teasing him, obviously they
yeah.
attack his mom. So obviously,
Huh,
like, he doesn't think about anything like that. He
huh,
just goes at
yeah.
it, and the emotions do work. But again, in your mind, like, because after that very scene, there's a scene where Superman tells to people like, "Stay inside. It's not safe here."
Yeah. It
That
just
feels
doesn't
hollow.
go.
That feels
Yeah,
hollow
exactly.
because you just
Precisely. Yeah.
pulled a petrol station back.
Yeah.
And even that, I just like, I think we're now talking about the flaws of the movie. Like,
Yeah.
in the end, when General Zod is like, he does that scene where he's like laser eyeing
Hmm.
the people,
I
like
know.
he's
Yeah, I
going,
know
and
what you
then
want to do. Yeah,
because of all the destruction that happened before that scene,
yeah.
like, people are like, just to save a few people, like, he's doing that. Like, but
Yeah, dude,
what the
like,
filmmakers are trying to portray is that he is not doing all of that purposefully. He's trying his
huh.
best to be Superman.
Yeah.
And then there's also this objection people have that. But then the screenwriters, like David Goy, is that they decided for that to happen. It didn't
Yeah,
have to happen like that. Like, they could have established Superman in a small way. They could have shown him gain experience before the
yeah.
whole attack came. So there are all these flaws. But I think because
Hmm.
I talked about the final battle with Zod, my problem is now that Zod, he killed Zod. I'm okay with him killing Zod. Okay, it's okay,
Yeah,
it's fine. Like, again, as I said, that preconceived notion thing comes to play, but I'm
yeah,
okay with that. The problem here, I think, is the fact that Superman, when the entire movie, you're establishing Superman. Okay, it is a journey of establishing Superman, Man of Steel. Like, essentially, like, in the end, even in the end, like, it's when he saves everyone from the world engine that people are like, damn, he was actually here to help. Like, before that, you got moments like when he saved the soldier from the flight, and which I love that scene so much. Like, he just saves a man and like, are you all right? And even that scene where they say that this man is not our enemy. It's
yeah.
epic. It's like, you're like, damn, they're like accepting Superman. And like, that's the
True.
thing. Like, there are like things that they do so well in Man of Steel. So when that whole Zod battle breaks out, I'm like, this is not how I think the end should have been. Because
Hmm.
I just want to compare it with Batman Begins. Batman Begins
Okay.
also had a similar thing happening where they had to stop the train from getting to the Wayne Tower. Like,
Uh,
there's a similar thing happening.
yeah,
Like, so
yeah,
in this
yeah,
film
yeah.
also, they had a world engine. I'm not criticizing the plot. Like, that is the structure they employ. Like, they had a world
Hmm.
engine thing and Superman and stop it. Having the Zod fight take place after that, it just got to fight where Zod is like, screw it now. I'm just going to kill everyone. Like, I'm this person. Like, I was like, like, this dialogues all make sense. He's like, I was bred to be a warrior, and like,
Hmm.
I was like meant to protect. I was meant to ensure the survival of
Yeah,
Krypton, and you took that away from me. That makes sense. But the fight feels hollow because you're like, you already destroyed the world engine. Now it's just two
yeah.
people punching, like two really intelligent people punching at each other.
The stakes are gone. Yeah,
Wouldn't
maybe
that
the
be wouldn't it
stakes.
have been awesome if Superman flies to like stop the world engine and then Zod goes after him to prevent Superman to
Yeah,
stop it?
yeah.
That
I was actually thinking the same thing
that would
that
have kept a
wouldn't
ticking
that
bomb
make
also,
sense? Yeah,
that would have been like
exactly.
and then he has to like tussle with Zod but still go and stop the world engine, like
Huh.
similar to the
That.
Batman Begins fight. That's what they did in Batman Begins. They were fighting in the train basically. I think that would have been a lot better, I think.
That I was actually thinking the same thing I still remember the first time I watched it. I was like, instead of doing that and cut into two portions, like first
Yeah,
he destroyed the, why
world
can't
engine.
just merge them? Because like, dude, like as if General Zod is like, he is like highly
That would have
skilled,
been
highly
epic. The
powerful,
tensions would have
and
heightened so much.
it that would have been the actual thing. Like, dude, like, Clark will try. If General Zod knew that he will try to stop him. Obviously, he will try to. He can't just
Yeah,
let things happen the way. And
true.
when he destroyed the first world engine, they would have okay, the first one is not working. Only so he's coming
Yeah,
right here. So we have to get their troops. And boom, nothing, nada.
that's
They're
true. That's
wait,
true.
yeah, that's
I love the line where Russell Crowe says, he's twice the man you ever were. Like, all of that is great. Like,
oh
but
yeah,
still, like, I feel like they should have had that scene a little bit earlier. And then Zod is like, okay,
true,
maybe I
yeah,
should like take this a little bit more seriously. Like, he did grow up on a farm, but he is like accustomed to this world, and that's why he's
yeah,
very powerful. So maybe we should go stop him. Like, I just feel like like considering they like employed a non-linear storyline, considering they did
true,
so much effort to the screenplay, I just feel like
yeah,
this was
yeah.
one thing they could have done that I think would have
And that
changed the
changes
entire film.
everything.
It
Like
changes
it changed.
everything.
exactly.
Even
And
like
you know,
him killing Zod
huh,
would have been
huh,
more acceptable because you're like the world engine. Like it's like
true.
it would have been just a few
Huh,
people. It would have been the entire world was at stake. And but
true.
again, getting to killing Zod, okay, the
Huh,
entire movie, it it is in a, like it has its moments. It has its moments
hmm,
of hope, but there's
yeah.
still a lot of, like as I said, there's a lot of moments of heart. But it's still,
Hmm,
it's this journey of Superman being Superman. It's not the journey of, like, I know what they're trying to show. They were trying to show that he was choosing Krypton. He was choosing humans. He was choosing
Earth.
Earth
Yeah.
over Krypton
Huh,
with him killing Zod. But
yeah.
we already knew that. Like throughout the film,
Yeah.
it was already established that, like even the scene where Russell Crowe tells him that you're the bridge between the two worlds, and you can
Huh,
save all
huh,
of them. Like
hmm,
we grew you up. We gave you the chance to understand both worlds. And so you can choose. So we already knew that he was always going to choose her. He was going to be Earth's
yeah.
protector. That's all fine. So it should have been a moment where he gets to be Superman, and because I think the fact that he kills off Zod, he just
Huh,
ended the whole thing in a very sour note, like in a very
yeah.
sad note. Whereas I
Huh,
think the movie should have ended in a more hopeful note. And if you see even the scenes after that, where he's going to the Daily Planet, and like I
huh.
love that scene so much. Like him like,
Dude, the
and
chemistry
people
between
say that
Amy Adams.
I
Yeah.
actually like the chemistry a lot. Like I know people say that
Yeah.
there's no chemistry, but I actually
What?
really like it.
I
People
was like,
actually
oh
say.
my God. Dude, I was
People actually
blushing. I
say.
was literally blushing. Oh my God, this is so
I just want
cute.
to say
That's such a.
one thing. People
Huh,
keep saying that, oh, in the end scene, Metropolis was all fixed, like the whole battle.
huh,
But if you
huh,
actually
huh,
see properly, they don't show a
huh.
lot of Metropolis. Like the
Yeah,
entire
they
scene with
only
him
show.
riding the cycle, it's like very
Hmm.
blurry shots, like of the
Yeah,
background. So,
yeah.
again, like people will, pinpoint anything. That's
Pain point. And dude, like who told you that it's just one day after that event?
yeah,
Maybe
yeah,
it would have
exactly.
been like a
Yeah,
huge time
yeah,
leap or some kind of that.
yeah.
And bro, like as we are talking about the final act, I just realized one thing. Like with one thing common between Man of Steel and Batman versus Superman is the fact that I don't really like the final act. There are parts
True,
which I
true,
liked
true,
about the
true.
final act, but
Same,
the main
same.
problem for both the movies relies in the final act.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
having said
I'm
that,
very similar, man. I'm
yeah,
in very
and
similar.
yeah, and having said that, dude, Superman in a way caused a genocide,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, and we just gave him a free hand with that. Like, we have a problem with General Zod committing a genocide. Okay, and that was established too because one of the characters said you are trying to cause a genocide. But Soup did the same thing with like his own people, and I see
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So you're
that
spinning it opposite. You're like showing that
yeah,
General Zod he tried to commit his genocide on
uh,
Krypton.
Earth,
Sorry,
yeah,
on Earth,
Earth,
on the
yeah,
people of Earth, and
yeah,
similarly, like if you take it opposite, but technically he didn't commit a genocide. They came into this world and they tried to
uh,
attack this world, and that's why
uh,
like I guess you could maybe if he went to Krypton and just killed all of them,
uh.
he just like he envisioned all of them. You could say that, but he was just
And
protecting this world.
I was actually thinking about the whole like
Yeah, but
embryos
I
thing.
think the reason you say that is very good. It shows it how layered General Zod was. Like because
Uh,
in his own way, he was actually doing it. He was doing all the right things for him, for
yeah,
his world. Like if this was a movie about General Zod being a hero, and if Earth is depicted as this
yeah,
very evil
true.
place, then we would have been rooting for General Zod throughout, and Superman would have been the
Exactly.
villain.
It's just
Like
yeah, yeah. And one thing I've realized from watching these type of movies and even in anime, like in so many animes, it has been told until and unless it's our guy, no one has a problem with it. Like
yeah.
even if our guy, I think it's
No,
our
but
guy, no? Like
see,
it's
it's interesting you say that, they noticed about it, but people had issues with this.
yeah,
Many people like said that, General Zod felt like more of a hero, especially like I think someone brought the scene up where, he crashes into ship and Zod like screams at him saying that, don't do it. This is the last piece of Krypton. And he says Krypton had his
yeah,
chance. And
yeah,
the way that scene is shot, or
yeah, yeah. Oh,
very like
nice.
professional podcast.
Very pro.
The way the scene is shot, it kind of
Hmm.
shows it almost feels like Superman is a villain. And again, I
Huh.
say that the preconceived notions we have of Superman, like it feels like he's a
Yeah.
villain, he's like he's visioning all of that. And because like in that scene, you actually sympathize with Zod. You're like, oh man, poor guy. But just what he's trying to attack Lois Lane. He's trying to
Huh.
attack the entire ship. So we shouldn't be feeling that. But for some reason, I don't know
And
if because of the
yeah,
performance of Michael Shannon,
yeah,
but we
bro,
feel sad.
yeah, one thing, like why he tried so hard to change Earth into Krypton? Why not some other planet?
No, I mean, I think Earth was, I think, is the most suited for change.
Dude, like at the end of the day, they were going to use that machine to change the atmospheric thing,
Yeah,
na? So
yeah.
it wouldn't have made
Yeah, I'm
any.
not quite sure if that was explained. Like they said that they wanted the
I know they
codex.
came here. They
Like
came here because
yeah,
Clark activated that
yeah,
code, and
and
like they
they wanted the codex. Like they wanted to
codex,
have the
yeah.
and you could probably say that it was like revenge because Jor-El sent like Jor-El messed up their plans, right? He stole the codex
Uh,
then, and he messed.
yeah,
So they were like,
that
you know, we will
dude,
take
like
revenge on the planet he
uh,
established as a
dude, like see, as General Zod said, the primary motive of his is to reestablish Krypton, and like,
Krypton. Yeah,
dude,
I
if
mean,
your first literally the first plan is to
yeah,
survive, make Krypton survive again, and make people. You could have started it somewhere and then come again with the
true,
full army,
true.
dude. Now, yeah, like
I mean,
okay,
maybe there was a line that said that Earth was the most suited. Like they could
no,
have
no,
added a
no,
line saying
there
that
wasn't.
Earth's
Yeah, they
planet
could
core is the
have,
most suited
they could
for.
have, they could have.
But like
That.
that's just nitpicking. I feel like that's okay. Uh, I
Yeah.
think overall I really like the film, but as I said, like
Yeah, yeah,
the killing of General
True.
Zod, it just ended the film in a downer. Where
Yeah.
I feel like if generals, like, just imagine this, okay? If General Zod survived, like, okay,
Oh.
I'll get to this, but I'll just say my final thought because what I say, like, overall, like,
Huh.
final thoughts of Man of Steel is that I really like this film in spite of all its flaws. I think
Yeah.
people give a bad rep to this film. Like, dude,
Hmm.
like I know we shouldn't care about Rotten Tomatoes that much, but it had a 56%. Like, it had a
Dude,
Rotten score. This is not a Rotten score movie. And like, dude, I've seen worse movies than this get like a 60, 65. Like, this was an easy like 70, 75% Rotten Tomatoes.
It's just like you said, na, it's like people have this preconceived notion with
That's the problem.
Superman,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and
So
I understand how Rotten Tomatoes work. I know it's not like 7 or 10. It's like that much percentage of
yeah,
critics gave it a positive review. I just feel like
true, true.
it could have
Huh.
gotten like I just feel like a lot more critics could have been more positive over this. But
Yeah.
like anyhow, but the main point I was trying to say before is the fact that General Zod, like they killed him off in the end, and that ended like the whole film ended in a slow note. Like I just feel like if they had managed a way of where General Zod could have been kept as a prisoner in some Kryptonian ship like in
Hmm.
some ship, like as we know, even in Justice League, we know that he still had some Kryptonian ships like
Yeah.
still in Earth, like because all the suits were there and all. Like maybe like with Jor-El, they like they kind of put a prison kind of like they function like a place where
Yeah.
he can't get out, and they put him over there. Like that's how
And they
Man of
could have
Steel ends.
introduced the first time that that Krypton is makes these guys vulnerable.
Yeah,
Could have,
that could have
yeah,
been there. The whole kryptonite thing could have come from that.
yeah,
And
exactly. Yeah.
then so that could have helped in BVS. And also, I feel like
Hmm.
instead of having like as we said, like the problems we have Man of Steel in is in the third act, even in BVS is the third act. And like I
Yeah.
think even if you probably speak to the most diehard fan of BVS, they would
Hmm.
probably say that the Doomsday bit is probably the weakest one.
Yeah.
And I feel like
Yeah.
would
Yeah.
it have been like I know it's that this is not how they did it in the comics,
General
but
Zod
if
would have.
General Zod was like if Lex Luthor that was his backup plan to unleash Zod, like that
Huh.
was his backup plan.
Hey,
Like
bro, like if I'm not sure about it, but like if I think if I'm not wrong now, what Lex did is created Zod into Doomsday.
yeah, he did. He
Yeah.
took his blood and then he
Yeah.
mutated with Zod. But I'm just saying, like, but
Yeah.
that's still a very like
Um,
it's a being without
True.
any like
You, yeah,
persona,
that's
like
my thing. Like,
personality. So not persona, personality. And like
yeah,
he's just this CGI creature. But wouldn't have been it would have been so much more cooler if like first of all like if Lex. Like his whole plan was to get Batman and Superman and to show that Superman was a fraud as a god and he kills Batman. Like,
yeah, yeah,
that was his
yeah.
plan. Okay,
Hmm.
wouldn't it have been cool if his backup plan was when Superman comes back was to just unlock Zod from the prison,
Yeah,
and because that was his
true.
backup plan, maybe he formed some sort of alliance with Zod,
Huh,
like,
huh, huh.
and maybe if Zod kills Superman in the end, like
Yeah,
just
that would
imagine,
have,
like
huh.
it would have been like I know that's not how it happened in the comics, and maybe people would have had issues with that. Okay, because
Dude,
that's not
but
how it happened. But it would have been
now I
so
want to,
cool.
huh.
Yeah, if Superman like he puts the spear into like Zod, and then Zod also like both of them kill each other in that one scene. Like that would have been such a great payoff of Man of Steel.
Better
Like
than this, at least, yeah.
it would have been better than
Much
this,
better
right?
than that.
I feel
Because
like
like
that would have been so good.
see, first and foremost, the biggest problem which I had with the final act of the movie is that, bro, you can't introduce Doomsday
Yeah.
like that, and you
Yeah.
can't kill him
True.
like that.
True.
Dude,
But see,
it's Doom.
like
I
even like I know Doomsday is like a very well-known
huh
he's very well-known in the comics. He's this unstructurable, like so this
huh
indestructible, oh, what am I saying? But he's this unkillable thing, like
and
who's
yeah,
there and he
yeah,
comes.
yeah.
But I just feel like, the appeal of Doomsday was never there for me. Like other than killing Superman, as a
Hmm.
villain, I feel like, he's just there. Like
Yeah,
he's
we
known
talked
just
about
for this.
yeah, we even talked about this the other day that I like yeah, it feels kind of wrong to like bring Doomsday here, but
Hmm.
I think like we think it was the perfect character to be there to like, because like at the end of
Because
the day you have to
yeah,
compete with
Superman's death was like okay.
there.
We probably have to backtrack a little bit now. But what we feel like what the problem is that I think we understand why Doomsday was there, because they had decided that they
Yeah,
would be killing Superman off, because in terms of
true. Yeah.
the character
Hmm.
like arc of Superman in BVS,
Hmm.
it was that he was always going to die. If especially when you rewatch it, especially if you rewatch the Ultimate Edition, the
Yeah.
it was always going to be that, and but the fact that they brought in Doomsday like just like that, it just like
Yeah.
it didn't agree with me. But like the main reason why we brought up the third act of BVS first was because we could connect with Man of Steel, like because I had this alternate
Yeah.
idea for Man of Steel, that's why I brought that up. But
Yeah.
BVS, the Ultimate Edition, we're going to talk about that now. Like again, all spoilery, but I just want to say I just want to start off by saying one thing.
Hmm.
The moment DCU failed
Hmm.
was when they decided, like the moment the failure started like seeping in was when they decided not to release the 3 hour version, but instead release the 2.5 hour version in theaters.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel that's
Like
when it doomed.
because like I never actually saw the theatrical edition. The
Hmm.
for like I saw the Ultimate Edition, and
Yeah,
I don't think I will be seeing the theatrical edition after
don't
like
say
hearing so many
it.
people like
Yeah.
complain. I don't even know like, oh my God, what will be there, like
No,
especially
it's
40
not
minutes
what
is
will be there. It's what is not
hmm,
there.
not there.
Like,
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, what's not there?
because
And bro,
in the Ultimate
I
Edition, in the first, like the third act mostly remains the same, but the
yeah.
amount of like context, the amount of scenes that is there in the first 2 hours of the film, you're like,
Hmm.
dude, this changes the whole thing. Like, because
Everything.
it's
Yeah.
not this that the people are saying it's just 30 minutes, but those 30 minutes make the entire movie make more sense. It makes the other scenes also make more sense. It gives a lot more
Hmm.
context. It deepens the
Hmm.
ideas of the film. And it's a huge, like, I don't even know what
Dude,
WB is
it's just like I as I said, I haven't watched the theatrical edition, so I can't say. But regarding that 30 minutes, I want to like give an example how 30 minutes can change everything. Imagine Endgame without the first act.
True, true,
Like
true.
they didn't show how the world has been coping up with all these things, how the Avengers are dealing with all these things, and they went directly into the time travel thing. That
Yeah,
would be just like any other like cheap
that's true.
commercial movie. That that
That's
that
true.
just the fact that the first act was there, like you finally see this hero down and out, like there's no don't the, that changes everything, because like if you didn't see the like the story little bit story of connecting everything like
Hmm.
because like, for me the idea of Batman versus Superman was such like, yeah, it's a superhero movie, but for me it's still a political influenced uh, a different kind of superhero
It is,
movie.
it
It's
is.
not, it is because it's not your typical superhero movie
Hmm.
where there is a problem and bro, there is like what's there is a conspiracy going on between
Yeah,
from
yeah, yeah.
both the sides, like, and
But
I don't
the,
think
the funny thing is the controversy only makes sense in the Ultimate Edition. In the
yeah,
theatrical,
yeah,
you
yeah,
just have to like you're just like, okay, maybe that's implied. Oh, maybe Lex
true,
did that. Like, okay, I
yeah,
guess. But like because in the theatrical, it's just implied that okay, Lex might have done all this. In the Ultimate, they
yeah,
actually show okay, Lex was behind
yeah.
this. Like he really framed Superman here. It's much more clear.
And it's such a brilliant idea, because like
Hmm.
in especially in these type of movies, you don't think of like a political like the I know I'm like again going to the MCU, but I think it's somewhat they try to show somewhat of it in Civil War, where
Yeah, yeah.
the corruption and the
Hmm.
that thing was there, and what arey yaar, I'm forgetting his name, the main antagonist of that movie who tries to go
General
behind that.
Ross. No,
What's that?
not General Ross.
Yeah,
Zemo, Zemo.
Zemo. Yeah,
Zemo.
Zemo.
I got it from him. I didn't even have to Google search. I just had to like think for a second.
So that Zemo guy, see, it's such a brilliant, and the way these things are shown and connected, and bro, like the powerful images, the very first,
It's a beautiful movie. It's such a
it's a
beautiful movie.
beautiful
Like
movie,
each
and the
and every
score,
shot can be a wallpaper. Like that's
dude,
how beautiful this movie is.
seriously, the entrance of Batman. He's
Yeah.
like, I know it's such a like funny meme they have made out of it.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
Batman is hanging
But
on the
not only is that anticipation they create, the fear they create before, like
yeah,
he comes and then he's like just standing there. You're like, oh man, like dude, that's
dude, like,
epic.
and dude, I am all in for that Superman entrance when Louis standing there and like he arrives, boom, and
Yeah,
that score.
yeah,
Oh, bro. And when Louis sees him in the eyes and
yeah.
like
She just like
he,
puts her hand
yeah,
down, like she's not scared
bro,
anymore. Like that. That's a great moment.
dude.
That's a great moment.
And I know I'm getting ahead of it, but I just, Arey, man, we can't talk about Batman versus Superman without talking about the first, A Beautiful Lie.
Dude, yeah.
Dude,
Let's start from there. Yeah.
that's a masterpiece. I know, like
Yeah.
it's like the same. There are
Origin,
people
yeah.
criticize. Yeah, it's like I know we have like it's like seeing Ben Parker thing like again and again, but this was shown and shot in such a beautiful and
Beautiful way. It's
endearing
like
way.
poetry in motion. Like
Exactly, bro. And I still get chills. Dude, the piano and the gunshot with the earrings,
yeah.
and it goes back, it broke. The
It's
symbolism is
basically the
there.
comic book panels, but it's brought to life. Like
Yeah,
as good.
dude,
Like dude,
it's
even that
amazing. It's
Ben Affleck, like in my dream, like when the bad folks
yeah,
around him and they live in my dream, they took me to a beautiful world or to
yeah,
a like a
yeah.
different like perfect world. But
Dude,
that was a
it's
beautiful lie. That was great.
that
That was great.
I, as soon as I saw that now, I was like, this movie can't go wrong. Like I have like there is no way this can go wrong. And it keeps getting better and better.
Dude, that
And
Metropolis sequence, man. That scene
array.
is so good. Like just seeing like Bruce Wayne like running into the old destruction happening in Metropolis and
Such
just it really shows Superman in that different light. You're like, damn, like
true, like a
anyone would be
different
scared of him. Like,
perspective, because
yeah.
from a like from Bruce's point of view, he is like because of him, all these things are happening.
Hmm.
Like, and you immediately, and I'm so glad they kept that part in. I don't
Yeah.
like in the Ultimate Edition, they started with that, and that
Yeah, that's how
links
they're
the
the
man.
theatrical
Yeah,
also. Like,
okay,
that's
okay.
how they're.
So they and because sometimes it happens that they doesn't really mention what the events happening in the
Previous
previous
movies.
movies,
Yeah.
but this time that was a pretty relevant part to be shown, and that was brought the whole Batman versus Superman thing together. And bro, the Lex Luthor scene of him, like when he was trying to conspire and say that the Chief Justice, she was the forgetting that lady, and like
I
what
understood. Holly Hunter, I think the actress's
yeah,
name.
I'm forgetting, like Jesus, I forgot everyone's name. And he says like, what if I change one thing? You don't think my dad would mind? Like, if I
The
were to change
painting,
one
yeah.
thing, I will change. Dude, and that score, the
Yeah.
creepy score,
Tin,
bro,
tin.
that's oh my
It's
god.
if you
And
like, I mean, some people have noticed that the notes of that is like the opposite of the Man of Steel theme, like showing that it's
oh,
the antagonist. Like
dude,
that's I find that very interesting.
dude, it's
before we get to Lex Luthor, I just want to talk about Ben Affleck. Like absolutely outstanding performance as Batman. Like he
crazy.
really like depicts this very hard-earned, brutal vigilante who has kind of lost his way in life and lost his purpose. But again, like I said for Superman, the preconceived notions that people have
True.
of what Batman should be. The problem here was not the fact that Batman is killing people or he has, because that was the plot. That was the story that Zack wanted to say. Like he wanted to say a story of the arc where he gets inspired from Superman. He gets inspired from his sacrifice. He believes that there are still true people, like good people in this world, and
Yeah.
he can still be good, and he can do good for this world. He can get off his old ways. That was like the arc that he's trying to show, but the problem is that people like, again, there was this misjudgment, I feel, because we were just getting off the Dark Knight Rises. Dark Knight Rises came
Yeah.
like 4 years back. or 3 years back before this film released. Okay, and people had this image of Batman, like whatever people say, like people say that Batman used to kill there also, but it was not like direct murders. It was like
Yeah.
incidental murders happening here and there.
Yeah.
He is depicted as a hero that will not kill anyone. Like, he that's his rule. Like in fact, like Dark Knight, like the whole thing with the Joker, like he even tells him, like, you won't like that's you won't break that one rule, and I want to break that. Like the whole thing with the Joker. And the thing here is that because people are so used to that idea of Batman, when they saw like Ben Affleck just machine gunning people and just like going in and just shooting, people could not digest that. But if you notice, people have like people have begun to accept him more as the years have gone by, because they're like, this is a new interpretation. Like people have now started to accept it. But back then, I still remember the uproar over that, that Batman is killing people.
That's the thing. See, as we'll be getting more and more adaptation of these different comic book superheroes, what's different? Like if a certain person is trying to capture a certain character in that way, it's his adaptation, and that's what makes him his adaptation, right? Like you can't like just imagine seeing what's there in the comic book in 4 or 5 different ways, just the same way. Like what's the need of
but adaptation? I think the problem is that adaptation, that's what Zack thought, like what you were saying, like that's what Zack wanted to do, that's what David S. Goyer wanted to do, that's what Chris Terrio wanted to do, like with the script and with the scene with Batman v Superman. But I think the problem came with the fact that they probably misjudged, because when you, as I said before, when you handle such big characters, you have to know that there is baggage. So maybe if there was something that showed Batman going down the wrong way, like where he's actually crumpling down, and like because in this movie it's done very well actually. If you just look at the film, like they really show that Batman has lost his way. But the problem is that he's such a big iconic character who and which many people like, which general audiences or most of the audiences around the world perceive him to be this guy, this vigilante who doesn't kill anyone. And when you show him in this way, people will find it hard to digest. True. So unless you kind of show it in a way where you're like, okay, that's what happened. That's what broke him. Like, that's what, because I don't see, like, if you look at like, even this is a show called Batman Beyond, which shows Batman retiring. Okay. In the first episode, basically they show that when the reason why Batman retires is because he's gone old, but also the moment he retires is when, he is forced to pick up a gun against a villain. Like and when he picks up a gun against a villain, he's like, he gets his deniable guilt that okay, he can't do this anymore. So that's how much strong that belief of Batman of not being a murderer is throughout the animated shows and everything. That so when they like portrayed this Batman in this way, it won't like settle in. That's, I think, miscalculation maybe. Like, and it's not even a fault of storytelling. It's just that when you handle such characters, this comes with them. Like you can't really fault anyone here. Like,
as you just mentioning, like they should have like shown him gone darker, or some of the events at least surrounding him, because
like
this is literally the first time
but still,
the Batfleck version of Batman is appearing in actual movies. And I think for that we needed a 4-hour long movie.
True.
Yeah, that.
I mean, even in 3 hours they couldn't have squeezed that in. But anyway, like Ben Affleck, I thought did a fantastic job.
Definitely.
But I just want to talk about one person which I thought was a miscast, and that's Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor. Like I feel like I don't think his like portrayal of, like, I understand what they were trying to go for, and people say that he is from Superman Birthright. Like that's the interpretation they were going for and stuff like that. But it just didn't work for me. Even when I rewatched this film, like all of his dialogues are great. Like it's all of his, it's so good. Like like the way he's like the man versus God. Like the biggest line is like devils don't come from the sky, from hell beneath us. They come from the sky. Like all the lines are great, but it's just that the way I feel like it should have been a very charismatic person. Because if you see the Lex, what they're trying to say, he's like trying to hide behind this mad persona that he's created. But I think it would have been better if he's this very charismatic, very like sly person who, not sly, like very this cool, charming, like Bruce Wayne almost. Like, that kind of person who, and people would not question his like intentions. But deep underneath, he has all these, like all these like evil intentions within him. I think that probably would have worked a lot more. Like, Yeah, go on.
uh, I just want to say one thing, that as a guy who like doesn't know much about like
Hmm.
how Lex Luthor is portrayed in the comic, and I
Yeah.
barely know anything from the comics. So I knew Lex Luthor is this type of guy, but I for me, as I said, I didn't know anything about like how he is portrayed in the comics.
Yeah.
I just saw him as a maniac guy who has this like crazy idea of conspiring against Superman and
Hmm.
making him like Batman, like that, the whole thing. And
Yeah.
I find it acceptable, because like now the things will start. Now the problem, where the problem comes, is the fact that, as you know, like how Lex Luthor is in the comics books, and
Hmm.
you must have read more and more as
Yeah.
you are more into this stuff. So that's where, and I can agree with that, because like, yeah, that's where things start to change, because like, as you said, yeah, little bit tweak and here and there, it's okay. But if you try to change the whole thing without
But
like
see,
that,
it's not even the change. It's not even the fact
hmm,
that he is this man. Like even if this was not Lex Luthor, let's say like
okay,
because as people there are people say that this is Superman. This is like a Lex Luthor from Superman Birthright. Like that's the character is playing. Like that's the
uh-huh,
interpretation. In Superman Birthright, he is a bit like this. He's a bit like
okay,
crazy like this. But see,
hmm,
that's not the problem. I think the problem is that the character just doesn't work. Like
uh,
it could be anyone. It just like
uh,
the way how Jesse Eisenberg plays his character. This is it. It doesn't resonate with me. It feels like whenever his scenes come, I'm like.
hmm.
Like it's like he is
Dude,
like all of his like the, like all that thing like
acha,
it
yeah,
doesn't
yeah,
work with me, like I understand what
yeah,
they were going because in a way it should have worked because they're like Batman and Superman and this are very like serious characters, so having like this mad kind of character should have worked maybe, but even if like people say he's playing the Riddler, even if this was the Riddler, okay, even if
uh,
this character was a Riddler, like it still wouldn't have worked for me because I feel like that's the weakest part of the film, like Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor. So but
true,
yeah, that's just like. But I mean, look, he doesn't
dude,
have a lot of screen time. To be
hmm.
honest, like
Yeah, he
his
doesn't.
screen time is pretty less, so that's fine.
Yeah.
But
Now,
uh,
now coming from like the weakest point of the movie, now I want to talk about the two strongest point of the movie.
hmm.
Not point, like two big, the best part of the movies, Amy Adams and Gal Gadot. What do you want to say about that one, dude?
See,
I
I,
know
I
we
will say
know
about
Amy Adams in the.
Gal Gadot and the because I have some. It's not against her, but I have some flaws like in terms of
Okay.
the writing,
Yeah.
like some of the right, and that mostly comes in the third act because I feel
Yeah.
like the first 2 hours of film are like excellent. Like I feel like it's perfect.
Yeah.
Like it's done so well. Like A.B. Adams is in the Ultimate Edition, she pretty much drives the investigation of the plot. Like she's
Yeah.
investigating. She's like none of those stuff was there in the theatrical. Like just I'm just
Oh.
saying it. Like she's like
Hmm.
investigating it's hinted here and there, but it's not gotten such
Hmm.
depths. In this, it's so much better. Like she's finding the about the conspiracy of Lex Luthor, which it was great because it felt like a political thriller. And even
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I liked all of Superman's like emotions that he's going through. Like he's just like trying to do the right thing. Even that scene with
The right
Jonathan
thing.
Kent,
Yeah.
like where he says, and I sat there having all the hero cake after like accidentally destroying the farm of the Lang family. Like that scene which he has, and that for me had like so like many people ridiculed that scene because they're like, oh, ghost can like what crap. But I loved that scene so much because like that is like in many times in this world in life we try to do the right thing, we are like hell bent on trying to do the right thing, but we go wrong somewhere, like unintentionally we cause harm, and that's what Superman is doing. Like, he's just trying to help everyone, but because of that there's so many political implications that this world has that he can't do that. Like he even did the right thing, he even went to the hearing, like, but
Yeah.
the conspiracy was the caused the explosion, and people were like, did he have something to do with this? Because he
Yeah.
flied away after saving a few people, but no, because he just couldn't bear what was happening around him. That's why he was like, let me just stop being this because maybe this world doesn't deserve it. He even says that this was just a dream of a farm from Kansas. Dude, those lines are so good. Like I absolutely loved those scenes. Like about like Superman, the Superman elements of this film, I thought it was actually pretty good. Like I think it works. Even like in the end when he is actually Jonathan Kent tells this about Martha Kent. That he says that she was my world. And
Hmm.
she showed me the hope of this world. And he says the same line to Lois Lane in the end, saying that, you are my world
Uh,
before sacrificing it. Like, because it's like, in many ways, he's like, this world needs me and I need to do this right now. And I'm a little bit mixed about the sacrifice because I'm like,
hmm.
on one hand, it works because if you look at Lex Luthor, he says that, if God is all powerful, he cannot be good. And if he's good, then he cannot be all powerful. But in this case, Superman has the power to defeat Doomsday,
Yeah.
but he's also sacrificing himself, showing that he is also good. Like, I just feel like that's pretty good. Like, I think that's a great rest. That's a great end. But at the same time, I also understand that, it was just a second film. We didn't get a lot
Yeah.
of Clark. So, I can understand people feeling it a little hollow and not like feeling the emotions behind the sacrifice. But yeah, I just started speaking a lot. Like,
No, dude, that's what we want about the podcast. Like speaking our heart out, like and these type of things shows that we really care. Like it's like I was just thinking the same,
yeah, and I,
this
I
thing
just
that
said all the dialogues from memory. Like, I was not even like looking.
yeah, and dude, it's such a different time these days because like we are talking about a fictional thing, a fictional event, and
Yeah,
we are talking about with such care and love.
yeah,
It's like we have experience. It's like our thing, like it's
yeah.
a part of our life, and it's just great, man. It's just really great.
But I think we talked about the good elements. Now I'll get to the negative, like you said about Gal Gadot. For
Yeah.
me, one of the negatives, and this mostly comes from the third act, is
Hmm.
the forced shared universe connections they
Hmm.
try to put into this film. Like
Okay.
for not exactly Gal Gadot, but the entire thing with her like seeing the email and
Hmm.
her like looking through the email and how like there are already logos designed for the heroes and like all of that. Like, no, there are some theories saying that maybe Lex, like someone from the future, gave to Lex,
Oh.
and it was always meant to go in Batman's hand. If that's the case, then it's like awesome. But I don't think that. Just looking at the story right now, I just
Yeah.
feel like that the whole like I feel like that was detrimental for the plot. Like it took like it felt like the plot just paused there because if I remember correctly, Superman like makes a decision that okay, I have to either talk with Batman or I have to go fight
Hmm.
him and kill him. That's it.
Okay.
He tells to Lois, like he says that in a very like heart wrenching moment, and then he flies away, and then they cut to Gal Gadot like looking at her email. And I'm like, dude, it doesn't work. Like, you take this entire scene
Hmm.
out and
Uh,
get back to
yeah.
the plot.
I think now what like it's actually it was a bad idea because like they it feels like they were trying to like foreshadow what's going to happen in the next, and it's like a sort of a connecting dot to them,
Yeah.
but it shouldn't be there, like especially at that moment, it felt really out of place and
See,
like huh,
I think like what they could have, because they wanted the movie to end with Batman saying that help me find others like you, like help
hmm,
me put, because there's this that that invasion that's incoming, okay, that
yeah,
but I feel like that again that also feels a little hollow because I think it would have been better if throughout the film there was like basically like maybe newspaper clippings or like talk about like there is talk like so they even says there are metahumans here, but there's
yeah,
more talk about metahumans, like maybe there's like someone like just like there was someone who just speeded in and saved this robbery. Like it just
yeah.
like talk like that, and then maybe in the end credits they could have had a scene like
They
this
would
where
have
maybe Bruce Wayne like gets maybe the encryption is completed, and then maybe then he goes to the file, and then he
yeah,
sees. Like you could have even kept Wonder Woman's plot intact, like just maybe
yeah,
focus on Wonder Woman, but then have
hmm,
all these heroes also like camera. And the problem is not just in the email; it's also in the other scene where Batman has his vision, and in the movie it plays out like a
yeah,
dream. Like Superman is like the nightmare sequence. The
yeah,
nightmare sequence is absolutely awesome, like because the way they did that is actually really cool because they set up something with actually having relevance to the current plot, because to the current plot it just shows that Batman is like very paranoid about Superman and he's seeing
hmm,
what this world could be if Superman is dominating. But for like hardcore DC fans, they can see the Omega
yeah.
symbol, they can see the parademons, they know, oh, Darkseid is probably coming, so it actually sets up very things. But it all falters when Flash comes in and he's like Bruce, like like be like find us, and you were right. I feel like that was again unnecessary, like because
Huh.
it is such a random moment that comes in and no one even talks about this after that. Like after like Bruce just wakes up, no one talks, and I just felt like, why did you need that? Like it would have been better if they ended with Superman like crushing Batman's like heart, like as the
Huh.
scene was playing out, and then he just woke up. And because in the next scene he's talking to Alfred, he's saying that how many people like stayed good like 10, 15 years in Gotham, like how many people stayed that way. And that has a lot of relevance because if you look at even like in the history of the characters that have been in Gotham, like whether it's Harvey Dent or the characters like that, all the characters who started off good actually like end up being bad, including
Yeah.
Batman in this universe. Like, even he has become a criminal now. Like so I feel like it would have been better if they just didn't have the flashback, because the flashback just felt so jarring, because audiences were like, me, I should I have understood that. Like they were just setting that up to be this thing. But I think it would have been a lot more better if there was a post-credit scene which showed maybe Flash like in the nightmare sequence going back and to
Hmm.
give this vision to Bruce or something like
Yeah.
that. Like I just feel like that forced shared universe connections were not required. But Gal Gadot was really awesome as Wonder Woman, so I absolutely
Yeah.
loved that. Like all of her bit was good, but as I said again, the faults of this film come more in the third act.
Hmm. And it's like I think you're right very well by saying this when this happens, like because of fact these things keeps happening, and as you said, it's a kind of force thing, because like the Flash is getting a part of Flash is getting introduced, and some people get it, then Wonder Woman kicks in, and then like it's the whole nightmare sequences.
Yeah,
It's like pretty felt like it's too much for a
it takes
single
away from the
movie.
central conflict of the film,
Huh,
like
and
about
it's
focusing on Batman and Superman. I
yeah,
think.
and it's already we are getting Batman already in this place, because like oh, it feels so weird because like see, apart from Amy Lewis and Soup, every other character is totally new to this
Hmm.
comic to this movie as well. And the fact that it's a Batman versus Superman movie, but there are other things happen, actually major other things happening around there, so it takes kind of away from the whole plot thing, because like what exactly the what does the filmmaker want us to have their attention on? It's like
Hmm.
keep changing towards the movie, and it's like, yeah, you were right, they could have done this more in the post credit, or like even in the late
In the
last bit of
last
the
maybe
movie.
5 minutes, maybe
Yeah.
like of the movie, when like they show that, like that's the only sort of like, for me, like even like this film is one of those films where a lot of the time, like we talk about Batman, like even the Martha scene, like which I don't really want to touch about because a lot of it has been talked about. But I feel
Yeah.
like the ideas were right, but even with the
Hmm.
Martha scene, the execution was faltered a little bit. I even did a recut of that where I
Yeah,
try to
yeah,
put the
I've
emotions
seen.
without with thinking Martha, and it works. It works even without the Martha name being said there. But again, like even when Superman comes to fight Batman, like I feel like if there was a scene where Superman is like explaining everything to Batman and then he doesn't agree and then he fights, it would have made it a better fight. Like then Superman would have, okay, now I have no option. But in the movie, like he
No.
just tries a little bit, like he's listen to me, Bruce. Like this is what's happening. But it's like he doesn't like say it properly to like Batman. And that I feel like if he had just said it more, he said that they have my mom and Lex Luthor is manipulating all of us, like that's what is
Yeah.
happening. And then if Batman didn't agree and he's like you're just like saying this, something like that, maybe like just small additions here and there, it I think could have like not like it could have improved the third act. Like we talked about Man
Hmm.
of Steel also, like the third act,
Yeah.
like, and when we talk about improvements, it's just in our opinion. I know there are people who think that as it is, it's fine, it's
It's
perfect as it
fine.
is,
Yeah.
and that's completely fine. But we just feel like just small improvements here and there in the third hour of the film, like that's the only thing. Because if we talk about this film, it's a beautiful movie. Like
True. True. True.
everything is, it's absolutely beautiful. Even the last sacrifice of Superman, the way how he like the Doomsday whole thing of him, like
Yeah.
like putting his heart, like just putting this the Kryptonian spear into Doomsday, and even the funeral of Superman, the way they show it, it's absolutely great. Like it's like Zack Snyder is like, again, he's at his true best in those scenes, like
Yeah.
portraying the funeral and stuff. Like,
Yeah.
dude, it's a beautiful movie. It has flaws, but all movies do have flaws. And I feel
Yeah.
like
Exactly.
people hated on this too much, and people hated on it a lot, and even the producers probably hated on it in the end because of what happened. But I guess we're just
Yeah.
happy that at least Axel got to, like, after the injustice that was handed over to him, he got to
Hmm.
come back, and at least he got to like
Yeah.
finish the film and
But all this
do
conversation in the
finish
last hour and so makes me so excited for like
exactly.
his
I'm excited because he has
4 hours.
more time. Like he has four
Yeah,
hours now. So I'm just excited to see what he could do in those 4 hours. Like, because
I can't
traditionally
do
Zack
it's
Snyder does well with a longer runtime. So I'm
huh.
more excited to see like what he does with Justice League.
And this is the first time happening. Like as I told you before, that I've not even seen any of the promotional footage.
Mhm.
Like even the trailer I've not seen, because like
Just the
that
first
rarely
trailer you
happens.
saw, the Hallelujah one.
Yeah, I know, no, yeah, that was the only trailer which I
Yeah.
saw, and that didn't had much. And
Yeah. That
I
was
just
more of a
saw some.
celebration of the movie
Yeah,
coming out.
I just saw some bits and pieces was there. I saw Joker. I was like, huh, what? And Joker says we live in a society. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, oh wait, what is happening? So I'm really intrigued.
I
Like,
am like, dude, like fans really fought hard. This was like a
oh,
beautiful story of, for once the corporates didn't get their way and the fans got,
true.
like, they might still get their way because of HBO Max's subscription was going up, but still, like, fans fought for it, and they all came together for one filmmaker to see his true vision on screen. I think that's a beautiful story. I know people say it's toxic and stuff, but there is a very positive side to this. Even about what they've done for the American Suicide Prevention Foundation, like how much money they sort of raised for that.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I think it's a beautiful story, and I'm just excited for this. I know we've talked a lot about Man of Steel and BBS, and we might have spoken a little bit too much about the flaws, but we do love these films a lot. Like we rewatched it, like there was like, but sometimes when we had to rewatch like movies that were not well received, we always like, "Arey, should we rewatch it?" Like we'll just say it from memory. But for Man of Steel and BBS, we were like, "Oh yes, we get to rewatch it." We were like excited because dude, these are beautiful films. Zack is, I think, he's a phenomenal filmmaker, and it's unfortunate what happened with WB. And I think it just shows that for a shared universe to function, a good filmmaker is not the only thing you need. You also need a very good producer. You need, like, I'm not saying that just like Kevin Feige, but you need a strong producer who will hold the hand of the director and be like, yes, like, what you're doing is right. Like, we'll back you, irrespective of what's happening. And I think that was what was missing with WB, unfortunately. And let's just hope that in the future we'll get to see more of filmmaking oriented films from the DC side of things.
Yeah, maybe like I think for now at least they should focus more on the silent movies, which looks like from the projects they're having. Like, bro, the Matt Reeves Batman. I can't.
True.
If
It does look good.
movie
Like Matt Reeves' Batman looks good. Even
the too good. Like
the Flashpoint movie also might be
yeah.
shaping up to be pretty good. So like here's hoping for the best for DCU.
Yeah.
James Gunn's Suicide Squad also looks good, and there's also a petition for the Ayer cut, the David Ayer cut. So even Suicide Squad was completely butchered by WB. So there's a lot of stuff which we haven't seen. So let's just hope that we also get to see the Ayer cut moving forward. But here's being very excited for Zack Snyder's Justice League, and dude, I'm hyped. I'm hyped. Like just take me on a journey now. 4 hours. People are like clipping out 4 hours. I'm so excited. I'm like, yes.
This is what I've been looking for all this time.
But I guess with that, we come to the end of this episode of the podcast, the DC special, I guess, the Man of Steel BBS special. If you do enjoy this podcast episode, be sure to hit that like button and also subscribe to the podcast episode. Next week, we'll be talking about Zack Snyder's Justice League. If you're listening to the audio version of the podcast, be sure to give us a review, maybe give us a 5-star rating. Like, we know we don't really deserve it, but still, like, it'd be great if you could give us a 5-star rating. And overall, it was a great talk about Zack Snyder's Justice League, Zack Snyder's Man of Steel and BBS. Jay, do you have any final thoughts?
Dude, as I said, after discussing it in length, like, I literally can't wait for the Justice League 4 hour pro. Like, dude, it's going to be amazing. I know.
But I guess with that, like, I know we talked a little bit too much about the flaws, but it's just us being passionate. Like, overall, we do like this films, and we don't go and bash on it like how other people do. we always, like, in here we always speak about the positives and negatives, and that's all in our opinion. Like, we don't like try to impose our opinion on other people. But anyway, like, with that, we've come to the end of this podcast. Do have a great weekend, and all excited for Zack Snyder's Justice League next week.